Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. My name is Bella. Some of you guys call me Annabella. I'm one of the trainers here at CrossLink. I'm very excited to be joining you guys today to go through navigating an individual tax return on CrossLink Online. Today's webinar is actually going to be a little bit different in a good way. We're going to be adding some office setup information. So if you are still new to CrossLink, or if you just need a refresher of what office settings you should be toggling, what you should be having, what you should be inputting into the system prior to the tax year, this is going to be a perfect webinar for you. We will most likely hit that 1 hour mark. So just a heads up, if you need to grab a snack or a drink, please do so now, because we're going to be covering a lot of awesome information. So if you have questions at any point, I will be coming back to them at the end. I do a really good job. I'm pretty thorough. So as long as you guys are following along, you're welcome to have it the software open as well on your computer so that you can follow along with me. And then, like I said, if you have any questions at the end, I will be making sure to cover most of them. And if anything, I can always drop my email and you guys can reach out to me that way. All right, let's get this show on the road. So today we will be covering introduction to CrossLink, CrossLink Online, how you access it, and we'll go ahead and open up the software in a second. We're going to be going over basic software setup, and then we're also going to be covering the different methods to preparing a tax return. There's three main ways you can start a tax return in the CrossLink Online system, so I'll go over those. And then, of course, the most important part, which is verifying and transmitting. All right, so with all that being said, let's hop into the software. I'm actually going to pause my camera since we are going to be focusing on the software at the moment, and I'll put that on in a little while. So if you guys have already gone ahead and signed into your account, you most likely, if you're an office owner or office manager, you will see it here at the office level. I might actually toggle in and switch into my office admin account only because there's certain permissions that you have at the office admin level or even as a preparer that you don't at the account level. But I do want to review some basic information here because there are some important things at the account level that you can't do at the office level. So, all right, why do we have this account level, right? Sometimes people get confused. So I'm going to go ahead and review it. So the account level is going to be important for you office owners, office managers, if you're managing more than one office. So for example, if you only have one office, you're really only going to be using the office admin login because that's what's linked to your PTIN. But if you have more than one office, you'll want to use that account level so that you don't have to sign in and out every time. You can actually just toggle back and forth between the office that you're assisting. The other reason you're going to be using your account level login, so if this is your second or third year in CrossLink, sometimes I'll actually go through and apply your license for you. But if there is a little warning saying your license hasn't been applied yet or you can't access a return, definitely double check here first. So this is going to be something you guys do every single year, just to make sure that we're still working in the same product offerings. If you guys decide to add CrossLink Online Business, you'll also find this here under account settings. So manage licensing is kind of what I was getting at here. So under your account settings, if you click manage licensing, you'll be able to actually apply those licenses to this current year. Okay, so that's something that is very important during your office setup because without applying your license, you will not have access to starting new returns. Really quickly, I will mention, typically I do not have people add logins here unless they have that multiple office kind of setup, right? So if you have someone who's an office owner or an office manager, maybe a co-owner, that would be the people you would set up here under the account level login. Anybody else who's just a preparer, whether they transmit, not transmit, those will be set up at the office level. The only people who should be set up at the account level are people that help run your business, help manage more than one tax office, okay? Ancillary products, if you'd like to offer audit allies or if you'd like to mark up your remote signature, you would also find these here at the account level. You do have to activate them at the account level to make sure that they apply to your individual office. Here under manage would be how you mark up the fee. Obviously, my office is a test one, so I don't have to mark it up. I also don't think it's going to show up in my office just because it is not a live office with a real EFIN, but you guys would go ahead and mark that up here if you'd like, okay? And you can also select the offices that you're applying, offering audit allies to. Same works with the remote signature. You come in, you mark it up. If you bought co-branding, you'll also go ahead and add your logo here. We have a cool picture of my cat just because it grabs everybody's attention, but that would be the logo of your business, okay? If you guys did not buy co-branding, you'll still have access to it on TaxPass, and I'll go ahead and show you guys that as well. For you single and multi-offices, you guys can kind of ignore this portion here. This is more for service bureaus. So if you're a service bureau and you have, your own in-house technical support, this would be where you add that phone number. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. I will go over the adding widgets portion. Like I said, this first part of the presentation is for multi-office and even some service bureaus, but we're about to hop into the information that's for everybody. But adding widgets will allow you to see what's going on with your business at a glance. It's kind of like that snapshot to gauge the health of your business. So if you go ahead and click free, you'll be able to download. I typically download 4 just because those are the ones that, show you or kind of look best in a square. You can always hide one of these and add a different one, really up to you. These are my 4 most popular ones that I like to add. You can add all 5. It's really up to how you want to run your business. For my multi-offices, you guys should already know, and you guys can always get in contact with us. If you want to create a new office, you're welcome to do so. Under creating new office, you just need to reach out to the sales team to buy an additional license, okay? I'm actually going to go ahead and sign in at the prepare level. So give me 1 second, or at better yet, my office admin level. I am actually also, once I sign in here, I'm going to go over, oh, wrong one. I am going to go over how to add the authenticator extension. I know sometimes we go over this during the onboardings, sometimes we don't. It really just depends on how much time we have to work with you guys. But I do want to point this out. I just did the authenticator. So let me go ahead and explain. Obviously, you guys already know when you sign into CrossLink Online, you have the option to either work with an authenticator or you have the option to get an email. If you use the same browser all the time and it's logged into whether it just be one computer or multiple, this would be helpful for you guys because it does make the process go very quickly. You saw I logged in within probably 15 seconds versus a little bit upwards, sometimes a minute to wait for that email to come in. So the way you would go ahead and add an authenticator extension, which is this little authenticator here that I have with all of my different codes, you would go ahead and type in authenticator extension. And it'll be this one, this authenticator CC. So if you go ahead and click on it, you'll be able to add it to Chrome or Edge or Firefox. So depending on the website that you're using, you can add it and it's going to appear here at the top right-hand corner. If you're already signed into your office and you're not already integrated with the authenticator extension, that's okay. The way that you'll go ahead and add the authenticator as an option, you'll still always have access to your email. That's always a default setting that you'll always have access to, but you can have both. After you add the authenticator extension and it pops up here under this little like puzzle piece looking thing under authenticator, the way you would scan that QR code, which is how we generate the 2-factor, would be here under generate new 2-factor QR code. It is going to have you type in your password just to confirm that you're wanting to generate that code. But what you'll do is once that code appears, you'd go ahead and click on this little pencil icon here. You'll click the plus sign and then you'll click scan QR code. And you see how it shows us an example. It wants you to scan it. Obviously, there's nothing scanning right now because there is no QR code, but that would be how you guys set that up. If you guys need help, you guys can always call technical support or reach out to me directly, but it is very easy and it does help us make the sign-in process a little bit faster for you guys. We're going to go ahead and actually start with the office settings, and then we'll start with the tax returns. So here under office settings, if you guys have co-branding selected, if you guys bought co-branding, you'd go ahead and add the office logo here. To go over this basic information, this is the info you filled out when you were creating your office. You should have your EFIN validated. If this box is not checked green and it's still showing as red, that just means that your bank application needs to be submitted. You can reach out to technical support or me or one of the other trainers and we can walk you through this. There will be a little button here that says validate your EFIN if it's not validated. Once it's in the system under the bank app, then you can go ahead and validate it. It'll check green, and that means you're ready for the season to start submitting returns. This little question down here is just confirming that the tax information of your office is the same that you want showing up on the 1040. Most people are going to select yes, same as office info. The next one can sometimes vary. Sometimes you guys have EFINs that are under your name and not your business name. If that's the case, fill that information out here. The URL information should be the same as the EFIN, okay? This URL pin, sometimes people like to type in a pin. This would be what defaults on the 8879. So if you can come up with any pin, it's one that you guys select, whether you decide to individually add it on every return or if you want it to populate. If you want it to populate for all the returns, you'd go ahead and add that URL pin here. To confirm that the information is going to be copied onto the 1040, you'd also click same as URL info. This next portion here is the prepare. So you guys, if you're adding logins, please make sure to be paying close attention. We do have some job aids and I'm happy to share those with you. I do typically send them after onboardings. You guys can always also reach out to us to get those job aids. But here under the prepare information, this is going to be the first step in completing a new login. Okay. So when you have someone come, they're going to start working in your business. You want to go ahead and make sure you set them on their prepare, okay? So this first box is just going to be the initials. Some people like to variate. They do like a 01, 02. I normally just put initials because it's an easy way when you're running reports to figure out who we're talking about, right? And we're only going to fill out the red boxes. That's the only thing that's required. There are certain areas within our office settings that have additional fields that you guys can fill out but are not required. And the reason being that we have them built out is because the IRS sometimes likes to require new things. And so currently these are not required if they're in blue, only what's in red is required by the IRS, but we already have them built out just in case the IRS decides to make some changes and they want us having you guys filling that information out. So there are certain things that are built out that you don't always have to fill out, okay? What's required will always be in a red box. So you just go ahead, for example, my initials are AS. I'll go ahead and start typing in my pretend PTIN. If you want to type in that PIN that'll generate on the 8879, you go ahead and type that in here. And you just go ahead and fill out the information. The email isn't super important. Obviously, you do need to fill it out, but we're never going to contact this email. This is a little bit more for the IRS, not necessarily for our software. But say you guys filled all that information out, it's going to go ahead and appear here. You see I have 3 examples already. And the second part to that will be the logins. Creating a new login is very easy. The username is exactly that. It's the username. Say we want to call it Bella Santana. Display would be the full name of the prepare. And then you type in the email address here, okay? Okay. You go ahead, you come in and you confirm it. We don't have texting integrated quite yet, but in the future, we hope to have the text option as well, other than just email and authenticator. So in the meantime, just go ahead and add that. Access levels. I'll go ahead and review those in a second. Most of the time, you guys are going to default into either non-transmitting or prepare, or excuse me, non-transmitting prepare or prepare. Those are going to be the 2 most common access levels that we set people up at. If you have a receptionist, please pay close attention to this one. If you have a receptionist that does not have a PTIN, but they start inputting basic client data information, we do allow you to set them up in the software, but you're going to most likely give them that access level of reception. And what you would do is you would link them to yourself. So you would link them to the office owner or office manager. And then obviously the return will be linked to your PTIN, which means that you are liable for that return, okay? So if you have a receptionist that doesn't have a PTIN, that's fine. But the preparer who does complete the return, that return will be showing under their PTIN, okay? So that's the way that you would add a receptionist, and then most people will fall under preparer. If it's a manager, then you'd go ahead and select manager. I am going to go ahead and open up a login that's already open. Only because you see here we have the reset login option. If you ever have a prepare, sometimes we set them up, right? We'll set them up in September when we're getting onboarded. They lost the email, they don't know where it went. You can always go ahead and reset their login and it'll set them a new activation link for them to set up their password and get set up in the software. If you guys worked previously in CrossLink Desktop, I will just reiterate this. Every person needs their own login in CrossLink Online. Any web version of any type of software has to have individualized logins, because if not, it will kick someone else out for security reasons. So make sure everybody has their own login. They're all set up. Obviously, you are more than welcome to give them the access level that you see fit. If there is an access level in here that doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. We completely understand that every business is a little bit different. You guys all run your businesses unique. So you guys can go ahead and click add new here, and you can go ahead and create your new access level. So I'm going to call it my test preparer. And I can go through here toggling what I do and don't want them to have access to. I will point out this one, if you click admin control, is going to give them the basic admin level controls. Manager controls, same thing. And those are kind of already the ones that we have built out. Typically, if you're creating your own, you're going to come through here and add exactly what you want. You're not going to click on these admin controls only because we already have those built out. But we do want to mention that if you click them, it's just going to click all those normal default settings that someone would have if they were falling under, for example, the admin control, manager control, or prepare. Okay. Yep. So that's how you guys use that. I'm going to pop back up here, not to make it too confusing or anything, but I feel that prepare login makes a lot of sense to go. I'm going to pop back up into billing though. Here with the billing information, you are welcome to create different billing schemes. I get this question a lot. What do you think my fees should be? We're not going to help set up your fees, only because, like I've mentioned before, every business is really unique, right? We have customers in all 50 states. So billing is going to look very different from office to office. It's going to look very different from city to city, state to state, right? So what you guys, there's typically two different ways that people set up their billing. Way number one, which I would say is most small businesses, most smaller single offices, really just like to put one flat fee on their return. I know that we have these like little default hourly rates. I really wouldn't worry too much about that, only because typically if you're doing a flat rate, it does obviously change from customer to customer, because you're not spending the same amount of time with someone who's a student versus someone who has a family with multiple dependents, right? So I'll mention that when I open up the return of how to add just one flat rate into the invoice. You can just type in there and it will show you, you'll have the option to just go ahead and fill out exactly what you'd like to add on to your invoice. But typically I do recommend you guys set as default so that you can click same as office info and this always pops up here. If you guys are going to have multiple different schemes, which this is going to be a little bit more for bigger businesses, right? You guys are welcome to do that as well. You saw where I clicked here on the three dots, and then I clicked create new scheme, and I can create my own. Then you guys can have different billing schemes, maybe Office A, or say Prepare A, Prepare B, Prepare C. If you're using a multi-office, you can actually copy these settings over from office to office, okay? And we can walk you through that if you give us a call. But most of my people are just gonna have one. That's why we're just gonna click default, and then you can go ahead and scroll down. I will point out as well, if you guys are working with your bank applications and you wanna see whether or not it's loaded into the system, this is the best way for you to do this on your own without having to give us a call. Obviously we see nothing's loaded here, right? So this would be this would be something that we need to come back and review. We're like, okay, my bank app is not on here. Then you would give us a call. Typically though, the bank apps do load automatically. So you would come through here for the billing. You would double check if you see a transmitter fee, the base fee, then that means that your bank has been loaded. And here under the bank, it'll tell you exactly who you're working with, whether that be TPG, Refund Advantage, Republic, or Refundo. And then it'll kind of explain a little bit more information whether or not you're in the card program, and then your markups, okay? So if you see it looking like this and you have a bank application that's showing as approved, please reach out. We just go ahead and resend your bank application. But 95% of the time, you guys already see it here once it's been approved, okay? So we're going to go ahead and cover form billing. Like I said, this is going to be typically my bigger offices like to do form billing every so often. I do get a very, more ambitious startup that wants to just start off with form billing. They want to keep it really consistent. They already know exactly what they want to charge, and they want it to be consistent across the board. There is no right or wrong way to do billing. It's just we have a lot integrated for you guys to use so that you guys can, run your businesses as successfully as possible. So for example, you will have the option to just go ahead and scroll. I typically find this is the easiest way for my customers to find the different forms that they're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and type up Schedule C. I already have it listed for $50, which means every time I add a Schedule C, it'll add $50 to my return. And when we open up the return, I'll show you guys what that looks like there. I'm going to toggle into advanced view only because I always have a lot of questions about this one. So for example, if we click into advanced view, it is exactly that. It's a little bit more advanced. Basic will just add, for every form, it will just add the flat fee of $50. This advanced view, however, so for example, think of it kind of as a buy two for the price of one, right? So I'm going to say the base quantity is going to be 0. And then per item is going to be 50. What that means is that the first 2 Schedule Cs are going to be included in my return, and every one after that, so the third one, will start to charge $50. This is good for people. Sometimes people like to include these in the packages. Obviously, Schedule C is probably not a great example because it does take a little bit more time for you guys to fill out, but perhaps a W-2 is a little bit better of an example. A W-2, for example, what I'm saying here is that the first 2 W-2s are $50. So they're showing $25 each. And after that, the third one's going to be $20 per W-2. So you guys can set them up however you'd like. If you want to include W-2s, if you just want to say the first 2 W-2s are $100, and after that, maybe they're $300 each. You can literally customize this however you want. And if it's a little bit too overwhelming, that's totally fine. You can keep it at basic view and have each per item add that way. Okay. I'm not really going to cover worksheet or line item billing only because it's very similar to form billing, and typically people don't really get that nitty gritty into things. But if you click it, you'd be able to access all your worksheets, and it's all the same as that form billing. Same with line item. So we see here, I already went ahead and built out some discounts. You guys are welcome to do that as well. I'll do another example. You guys can fill out whatever you want here, right? You can give it discount for absolutely anything. But I would make sure to pay close attention because the type is what's most important here, okay? So you guys will have the option of putting in the percentage or the dollars. So that's important just because you do not want to put a percentage as 50 and you meant to put $50, okay? So just pay close attention with that one. You guys can select whichever one works best for you. I did do another example here as well of custom charges. If you like to do things like packages, this would be how you guys add that into the system. And then I'll show on the invoice as well what that looks like. It would just be the little 3 dots and then the choices button, and it will show you what you already have built out. So you're welcome to go ahead and create your own kind of custom charge here, and you can make absolutely any package that you'd like. Remember we covered this at the beginning with the account settings. It will show you what your markup fee is. If you have one, if you don't, if you need to make those changes, you'll find those at the account level. Licensing is also at the account level. It will show you whether or not you have one if you have one applied to your account, but you can't apply a license here within the admin login. You would have to do that at the account level with your account code, okay? We're not really going to cover too much on business just because this is not a business webinar today, but if you do have business and you bought it, you have your client letters available here. You can go through toggle, make edits, and same with your business billing. You can come in here, set as default. Business billing works the exact same way 1040 billing works, okay? I am just going to kind of go over this basic information. We're not going to touch on everything here in extended setup because then that kind of gets into an onboarding. But I will just go ahead and cover some basic info, which is here under the 1040. These are the defaults. What's already listed here is what's defaulted for every account. You can come in. I think mine has some special settings just because I play around with my software, but you guys are welcome to add or take away pretty much anything in here. One of the common things that I do get questions on, sometimes people don't like to prepare a copy. That's totally fine. They just want to see the client copy. Cool. We have no problem with that. Just come through and take these off if you only want the client copy to save, because they will have a duplicate and sometimes people don't like that. And that's totally fine, right? Business printing, if you bought it, will also be available here under printing options. These print options here are a lot of different very random kind of defaults. If you're looking for something, I normally recommend reaching out to technical support or training, just because we know where it is and we can point you in the direction without having you to look too much, because I know these can kind of get a little overwhelming. If you want to put in a referral coupon, you would find that here on the bottom, say $50 referral coupon, and you can put in an expiration date. Up to you guys, okay? If you do have checks from either TPG or Republic, you'll go ahead and activate them here. Starting number, ending number. Typically, you guys don't have a site ID, but you would fill it out like that, and then you just go ahead and click activate. I'll point out on the main page how you go through a test print. Pretty easy. We already went through our login, so I'm not going to touch on that. Defaults are pretty straightforward here. The ones, you guys can come back to this later as well once it's posted on YouTube. These are the ones that we normally recommend toggling on. Audits, what's already required by the IRS is already built into the return. These are just additional ones that we have here for you guys. If you'd like to add them, you're welcome to select all, you're welcome to select none. This is something you guys come back to and review on your own time. Client letters as well, we're not going to really get into those, but they are all accessible here. I will point out that they're also available in Spanish, and you can change that default if you'd like your letters to default into Spanish, okay? Pay Junction is our credit card and debit card payment system. So if you'd like to go ahead and do any type of remote invoicing or just take credit card or debit card payments, Pay Junction is great. You guys can still use your own system if you have one, something like Square, that's fine. I will point out though, if you want to offset that technology fee, you'd go, enrolling in Pay Junction allows you to do that through remote invoicing. Okay, so if you don't want it pulling from your wallet, we recommend enrolling with Pay Junction so that you can just send that payment directly to them and we can collect it via Pay Junction. Okay. If you want to enroll with them, you just click learn more and it'll go ahead and open up their website. You will go enroll into their program. Once you're enrolled, you'd go ahead and put in your login information here. TaxPass. If this is your guys' first time setting up TaxPass, it will ask you to generate a QR code and then it'll show you your TaxPass URL. This TaxPass URL is the URL that you can send to somebody. It does automatically copy to your clipboard. I'm just highlighting so you guys can see. This information here at the end is your office ID. You see it's listed right here. It's also listed at the end of the TaxPass URL. That's what allows your customer to be pushed directly into your office. If you send them just taxpassapp.com, it has no way of knowing who sent it. And so they would need this office ID here, okay? So I just recommend making sure you send the full link. If you text, email, either way is fine. Your client can open it on their phone, their iPad, a laptop, and it'll start gathering that client data information from them. And it will also ask them to upload any information or like documents that they want to share with you prior to meeting. Those documents will automatically pop into the document archive, which makes it much easier for you versus them sending you emails, you downloading it, and then uploading it to the document archive. So we do always recommend if you guys have an in-person office, set up a QR code. Most of the time people are waiting, right? 10, 15, maybe even 30 minutes to meet with you. They can already start tackling some of that basic information so that it helps you work a little bit faster once you're already meeting with them. Same with those virtual. With those virtual meetings, a lot of people will have their clients start filling out the TaxPass information. So as soon as that they meet virtually, they're just tackling that return, reviewing any information that the clients uploaded, and it just makes it a lot easier for them. You will go ahead and add your email and save it just so that it'll notify you, letting you know once someone has submitted a TaxPass return. So it'll notify you in two places, and we'll touch on that in a second. It'll notify you in your email, and it will also notify you on your dashboard. If you have a logo, you're welcome to go ahead and add your TaxPass site logo. This is free. We do this so that you guys can, when your customer is signing in, they're making sure that they're signing into the right office. So always recommend adding a logo. Make sure you click save and upload on the bottom. You see this is grayed out right now, but if you add it, just make sure you click save and upload. I do recommend for all of you business owners, preparers as well too, make sure you do an example return in TaxPass. I recommend this only because if you try it out once, then you can speak to it. I can explain it to you all day long, but if you try it out, you're going to know how to navigate it and explain it to your customer better than just repeating what I'm telling you, right? It is very easy. You do have to register once. And the reason being is that next year when they sign in, it's going to populate and kind of performa pull their information. They're just able to go in there and make any updates, or if everything stayed the same, they can just confirm that that information stayed the same, okay? The reason I also signed in to this, my office admin, which is kind of like my preparer login, is because we do have these two signature options here, and this is important. I'm going to actually open up the office settings real quick. If you're here under prepare, if you're an office owner, manager, and you come in here and you see this not completed portion, you can either send your preparer a remote signature for them to sign, or you can just let them know the next time they sign into their software, they can click here at the top right-hand corner, and then they'll come into capture prepare signature. The only people that will see the capture ERO signature is if you're the EFIN holder, so the office owner. That's the only person that's going to see that. If you're just a preparer in the system or even an office manager, you'll just see capture prepare signature, and it will give you the option to sign. I'm going to go ahead and update it just so you guys can see. You just click your mouse, you hover over it, and then you sign. That's obviously not my real signature, but you guys can go ahead and sign. This is important because the tax return does need your signature before it can go to the IRS. So just make sure you go ahead and click on that. I'll cover a little bit of this before we jump into a tax return. TaxPass URL is always available here at the top right-hand corner under your name. We do get the question every so often if the TaxPass URL can be individualized for the preparers. At this time, it cannot. That might change in the future, but for right now, this TaxPass URL is for the entire office, okay? And so office owners, office managers, you guys are able to transfer those TaxPass returns over to different preparers. If you don't want them to have access to all the TaxPass imports, you'll go ahead and switch their permissions under the office logins, okay? But that's right there. If you need to switch and toggle your tax year, you'll have that right there. It'll give you the option of which tax year you'd like to work within. And then we already kind of covered the two-factor authentication code. Last thing I'll cover here will be the toggle training mode. If you'd like to train, we always recommend using that training mode, right? We build it in because it's a great tool to have. We don't want you guys accidentally transmitting returns that are not real because somebody gets confused. So we should always be practicing in that toggle training mode. That's why it's there for us. So here at the top, you see that yellow stripe. When it's yellow, it means we're in training mode. Once you are done, you can actually click exit. I will point out there's limited functionality. It's not a lot of differences, but you just can't pretend to capture a payment and you can't pretend to transmit. Those are going to be the two most important things you can't do in the return that you can on the live side of the software. Okay, we just don't want to confuse the system. Last thing here, office owners, typically just office owners. Office wallet is available here as well. So that should be something that you complete during your setup. If your wallet is not set up, your return will let you know that you have insufficient funds. So if you ever need to take a look because it says insufficient funds, just click there under office wallet. The same way I added widgets on the account level will be the same way you add widgets here. Preparers can also add widgets to take a look at what returns they have. But you would just go ahead and click, if you don't see these on a square like this, means you haven't downloaded them. You would just click add new widget here, you click in free, and then it'll go ahead and download them. You'll just click install, and then it'll show you installed. And then, like I mentioned, just make sure you put them in a cool little square so that you're not having to scroll all the way down. Let's review this little sidebar here before we hop into a tax return. Office owners, managers, this one's for you. You'd be able to select a prepare. You can either create a new prepare or you can just toggle in to see what's going on. If someone needs help, so if they send a return for review, you should see it pop up here under tax returns. But if they're a regular preparer and they are transmitting, you can just go ahead and click view, and then you'll see the tax returns that they've started, and you'd go ahead and open them and help them that way. You see here, this person actually has, well, the whole office has a mobile return ready for review. And I'll cover that in a second. That's going to be that tax pass. So your preparers are here. It'll give you an idea of what's going on the day-to-day, but if you need to help them with the return, you just click view, and then you can open up the tax return. Or you can also search the tax return this way, whether it be return ID, name, all of that jazz. Office owners, you'll see it in here as well. I will point out, if you're moving from desktop, this will be one of the most important things that you need to kind of get accustomed to. Make sure you use this to filter through your returns. Pending remote signatures is a really great one that a lot of people use. If you're looking for a return, you can put in the last four of the social. Or if you're looking for return status, right? That's some important one we're looking at right now. You can actually filter it by whichever status you're looking for, okay? So you just go ahead and select, for example, add IRS and filter returns. Obviously, I have a fake office with no real returns, so none of my returns have been transmitted, so nothing's popping up. If you have business, you'd access it by clicking on business right here, and then you just go ahead and click new return. So it's the same. We do see we have the import mobile return. So if we click here, we can see that they sent us a new message, and this return was submitted on December 19th. If we click on it, we can go ahead and click import. It will show us what's been imported. We don't have anything that's been imported yet. So we can go ahead and click here and then click import. Okay. I'm going to leave that there just because I do a lot of examples. This calendar feature, pretty cool, but it's not something that's transferable between like different, like the owner or anything like that. So this calendar is just personal. So it's not built out yet to have like a receptionist or anything, like allow to make appointments for other people in the office. This is just a personal calendar. So just keep that in mind. Anything here is just personal. Nobody else is going to be able to see that. Secure messages, if you want to send text messages, you see the text link messages, which are those messages sent from the return. You can also send, so there's two different types of messages that'll pop up here. It's the text link, which is the texting through the return, and also this kind of like, for lack of better words, I'll say kind of like a Teams message. You can actually select a preparer that you can message. It's obviously not Teams, but it's just a quick little message that you can send to somebody. If you send it, it's going to send it to that preparer and it's going to pop up on their side. So it's a way to communicate with other people in your office. You can also see what you've sent. Yep. So I would say business owners, this is a good one. If you have like an all office meeting, you can go ahead and send a message. When you click new message, you can actually send it to a full group. So a parent group would be the whole office here. Checks, I did mention if you're enrolled with TPG or Republic, we're integrated with them. Refundo and Refund Advantage, you'd print through their portal. But if you want to do a test print, you just click test print and it will allow you to go ahead and make that test print, okay? So after you've activated your returns. I'm not going to touch too much on refund calculator only because we're pretty limited on time today. But the refund calculator is just a very quick 5-minute way to get an estimate of what your client will be receiving this tax season. Okay. So somebody comes in and says, hey, I'd like to know, what do you think I'm going to get back on their return? Obviously, they need to know their basic information, right? How much money they've made this year, any major credits or deductions. But once they click on the refund calculator, it should take less than 5 minutes to fill out that information. You can even add in how much a calculated fee would be for working with you, and then it would let them know what an estimate of their return would be this year based on the information they provided to you. If they say, hey, that's great, I want to work with you this season, awesome. You can actually go ahead and create a return based on the information that you set up there. Reporting, it's just going to be your basic reports. I do mention, obviously we have these ones built out here. If you're looking for other more in-depth reports, that's totally fine. We still have access to them, right? You would go ahead and access them through the portal. So the CrossLink tax portal would allow you to pull a little bit more in-depth returns. If you have multiple user IDs, that one's also really helpful. Or if you still have a desktop and an online, it allows you to pull all the returns and pull all those user IDs. So you would find that under your CrossLink tax portal under reports. And then this last one here is just your payments, shows you all the payments you've received from your clients, business and 1040. All right, let's go ahead and open up a return. That's what we're all here for today, right? So, all right, opening up this return. Okay, so obviously this is a return that I've already been working in. Cool, we have a return note here. I'll start this portion by starting off with the return notes. You can actually leave notes for clients. Obviously, this is going to be really great if you have multiple people touching a return. So if you have a receptionist or you have someone who does some data entry for you, and then you're the preparer coming in, or if you have a non-transmitting preparer and you want them to give you an update on what's been completed on this return before you review it, these timestamp notes are awesome for this. You'd actually click here under notes, and then you can go ahead and add a new note and you just type it in. It will timestamp it and let you know who went ahead and submitted that note, okay? But typically, when you're starting a fresh return, you're actually going to fall here onto the client data screen. This will all be blank. Obviously, we're working a return I've already started filling information out for. What I will mention is that before you are able to move around in the return, add forms, you always have to fill out the filing status. In this case, if you don't know what a little box is asking you to fill out, we have this really cool handy icon here on the right-hand side. You see here at the top, it's saying field description, and it's letting us know the 5 different options we have to fill out this box here. If there's any form links or worksheets or overflow sheets, they'd also appear here on the side. But typically you just go ahead and fill out this filing information. You start filling out this info here. Like I said, today's webinar is a little bit different. It's a little bit focused more in depth on some of the things that sometimes we don't review when we just do a basic return. So I am going to point out here, this dependent box is really important. Sometimes people get a little confused as to where to find this. If someone comes to you and they are a dependent on someone else's returns, you see how we hovered and it's showing enter X if a taxpayer claimed as a dependent on another return. That's the box here, okay? Sometimes it's easy to miss, so I just wanted to point it out because that is a question I sometimes get. You would go ahead and click an X there, and then it will let us know that this is a dependent on someone else's return. We did integrate with Vision Assist, so this is really cool news. This is our beta year. So beta means that it's in testing. It's our first year that we're offering you guys the option to work with AI. So we look forward to integrating more in the future, but this is our first year that we're going to be using it, and it's available in 2 different places. You can use it for the driver's license, and you can also use it for your W-2, and I'll show you where to access that for the W-2 because it's a little bit different. At the moment, the release hasn't been offered yet, so within the next, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have Vision Assist available. Like I said, it is a beta, so it is kind of new and in testing this year. So feel free to give us, some time to test it out. You guys are going to be able to test it out. It's pretty cool feature. What it will do, you'll upload the document, and then it's going to scan the information and automatically import it. For most people, W-2 is what they're really looking forward to using Vision Assist with, and we're very excited about that. I'll show you that in a second. Here you can also add it for your spouse ID information. Here's your spouse info. This is just basic client data information. If you want a little bit more of an in-depth review on filling out a return, feel free to open up our YouTube. Most of our CrossLink online webinars are really just going to be focused on the return portion. Today, I know we've covered a lot of information and we're getting closer to the top of the hour, so I'm just going to kind of do a quick overview. Feel free to drop any questions you might have that are a little bit more specific. General information, please refer back to our YouTube and our other webinars for that. But this is pretty basic. As long as you're filling out for the dependents, fill out all of this information. I'm just going to touch on this little box, for example. Maybe you don't know exactly what that means, right? You just click on that eye icon like I mentioned, and now it's letting us know, oh, this box wants us to fill out how many numbers of months the dependents live with the taxpayer, if they were Canadian or Mexican, and you would fill that out there. If you fill this out correctly, it's going to go ahead and populate those EIC credits, okay? So for example, this already populated that information, but you can always click here to take a look around, okay? I will point out sometimes if you click on these 3 little dots, it will give you a choices field, which is pretty cool. It also links for worksheets and bookmark fields, but choices will be most important. This one obviously has a whole bunch, so you can go through and select this one, whichever one applies here. I am going to scroll up and show one more last thing here at the top before we go into adding forms and reviewing some information here and here. If you want to text with your client, please make sure you click this very important box right here under text message. If you click, I'm not sure if it's going to let me do it. Okay, cool. So when I click the X again, it went ahead and confirmed this message. It wants to get some consent, make sure we're good to text your client. As long as you click I agree and you let your client, you ask them if they're giving their consent to receive text messages, then you'll be all set. We do request that you guys fill out the mobile carrier, and it should push over this email information over as well. Reason being, this just helps with text message delivery, spam, all that. So as long as that's filled out correctly, it'll allow us to deliver those text messages. It will most likely deliver without it, but we just like that extra level of security so that we're making sure that the text message is being received to the correct person. And the way you would text that client would be here at the top right hand corner with that drop down. You'll click send text message, and then you can go ahead and send them whatever message you'd like. If you're sending return updates, you can put that, or if you want to say, hey, don't forget, we have a meeting today. Please finish filling out your TaxPass information, or please upload these documents. You can go back in TaxPass and actually upload documents after the fact and only import those documents on that main screen. So like I said, test and play around with TaxPass so that you understand it well and you can explain it to your client. All right, so one of the most important things is going to be adding those forms, right? It normally always defaults to this W-2 since it's one of the most popular forms. You can come through, take a look around, type in the specific form you're looking for, or you can just go and scroll all the way down. States, unlike desktop, online releases automatically. So as soon as a state is available, it will release. You see here we have a decent amount of states. We don't have all of them quite yet, just because we're still in that season where not all states have confirmed exactly, what their forms are going to be and all of that information. So as they release, they will be released automatically on CrossLink Online. You can just select the state and then you'll double click to add those state forms. Okay. Um, I will mention, we said at the beginning of the webinar that we have 3 different ways to prepare a tax return. The most common way is going to be through adding forms. So we call that the forms-based method. The second, I would say, would most likely be the interview icon, which is this interview portion. If you want to click, if you're a new preparer or if you've worked with a competitor software and you're used to looking at it this way, you're more than welcome to always start an interview mode if that's better for you. But typically most of our clients like the forms based because it is a lot faster. The interview mode is the software guiding you versus adding the forms is you guiding the software. So you're welcome to go ahead and do one of those examples for yourself. It'll start to add that information you see here. I did add a test dependent, and based off the information you fill out here, it will start to populate these forms over here. Okay, you still have to fill out your forms, but it will just go ahead and generate those forms that it wants you to fill out based off the information that you filled out here under interview. You do also have the express icon here, or the interview, which is the questions. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and review the invoice just because we did talk about that. You see here, my information is already automatically applied because we went ahead and did those billing settings. We see here, I already have $400 in itemized billing charges. I do see my remote signature fee. When you're going through your verify, it will ask you if you want the remote signature fee to appear on the return. Typically, most of the clients are going to say yes, just so that you see it and you're collecting that $5 remote signature fee as well directly from your client, since we do collect that from you. And then you also have the option to add a prepare fee. Like I mentioned, typically people do one or the other. Sometimes people do both. That's totally fine. Prepare fee is exactly that. It's the preparation fee. If you're a smaller office, sometimes you guys only do the preparation fee. If you're a bigger office, maybe you have a flat rate and then you have your preparers and you allow them to type in. That is very much up to you as the business owner. But you'd have the option. You can come in here, type in whatever you'd like, and then it will go ahead and generate. We see the technology fee here for my software is $4, and that's going to appear here to make sure that you're collecting that, okay? So we see here we have $709 worth of charges, okay? So it's calculating those extra fees as well, and that's how we're making sure that you guys are collecting that directly from your client. If we want to take a little bit look more into what our itemized billing is potentially, this is a test. This is not a good return. Your return probably shouldn't look like this with a million different charges, but mine is just because it is an example. But you see here, I have the predefined discount. I applied a student discount to this account. The way that I applied that discount was I clicked on those three dots, I clicked on choices, and it showed me the two different options that I have that I already had built out. And those were the ones that I created under those settings. You see here, we have description of payments and credits. I'm going to touch on that here in a second, of how we can capture payments. You see here, it says other, it says also check. So I will touch on that in a second. But if we scroll all the way on the bottom, it will let us know our itemized form billing. So here it's letting us know that every 1040 starts at $200, or at least this 1040 started at $200. We have the W-2 billing scheme of one W-2 is $50. And then we have the Schedule C showing each Schedule C is $50. So if you guys fill this information out on the itemized for form billing, it will populate here, and then you'll see it up top. Hand in hand with obviously filling out your invoicing will be your payments. If you go ahead and click in here, I love this feature. This is one of the features that I feel like sometimes people miss if they've been working in the software for a long time. They don't realize that they can do this. Even if you're not enrolled in Pay Junction, I highly recommend using this tool, because then this allows you to pull reports from the CrossLink system for administration to figure out how much money you're making with your clients. If people still owe you money, we don't want people to owe us money. We want to make sure that we are capturing exactly how our clients are paying us, right? So even if you're not enrolled in Pay Junction, you can still use this manually. So for example, if you're using Square, you can still use that. That's totally fine. We don't have a Square icon, but that's fine. What you would do is select other, and you can actually type here in the memo saying Square payment, and that'll let you know exactly that. You can also add any other information that you think is important that you'll want to reference back to. You can also do partial or full payments. My invoice is a little funky because I've done a lot of different payments and a lot of different examples. So we don't have anything due at this moment. But you can go ahead and capture. It will let you know. If there's a partial payment, it'll also let you know the amount due after that payment. So, like I said, test it out on yourself. The only way that you're able to test those payments will be in the live side of the software. So just be cautious if you're capturing payments. I wouldn't go too into capturing payments, just because then it will also show on your main dashboard, and there is no way to delete a payment. If you do accidentally take a payment or fill this out and it's not a real payment or something like that, you can put in the minus sign, and it will that's the way to zero it out if you put in an accidental charge. And also ask who you've added it to. So you see I add void previous payment or mistake if that's the case, or taxpayer spouse. If you're enrolled in Pay Junction, you can actually click here, take credit card debit card payments, or you can send a remote invoice. Awesome. Let me touch on the document archive, and then I will most likely open it up for questions. Here for the document archive, there's two different things that you're going to want to use this for. I'm going to start with requesting documents. You can actually request, and this is online only, not available in desktop, only in online. You can actually request documents from your client. I didn't type in an email. You should type in an email for your customer. So for example, if you don't, you can always click other email and type it in. You can type in, this is going to pop up as an email from support, letting you know that your preparer is requesting documents from you. That's going to be the client view. So you can just type in anything you'd like. If you need the W-2, just type in, it's like a normal email. And then you can select whether or not it's coming from the taxpayer or the spouse, and the document type. I'm going to go ahead and click request, and you're going to see the email pop up here in a second, and it's showing that it's pending. It also shows the last updated. This will auto delete. You see here, support prepare has requested documents from taxpayer. So it's requesting documents from me. Client will need their social, name, date of birth, and I believe that's it. But obviously to confirm their identity. After 3 days, this will like it won't let you upload anymore, just for security reasons. So you'll have to come in here and add it back. But if they upload their information within those 3 days, it will go ahead and show in the archive documents, actually here, showing that they uploaded that information. It'll always timestamp it, so that makes it really easy for you guys when you're coming back into the document archive. It's been a couple years since you've worked with your clients. You want to make sure you're looking at the most updated information. It will always go in timeline order there. When you guys are doing your signatures, and I'll touch on that on the second, you see here, it's letting us know we had a remote signature. So they already went ahead and signed, and it triggered that final tax return into our document archive. As long as we're signing, or if we're clicking print final tax return, it's going to trigger to save here in the document archive, okay? You can also add documents. So if your people, your taxpayers are a little more old school and they just email you, you can just go ahead and click add document, browse your computer to upload, or you can scan. For signatures, when you go ahead and click sign, it'll give you 2 options. Okay, we're not going to touch too much into this today, only because I still have a lot of errors because this is a text example. As long as all of your major reject errors are cleared, it will allow you to sign. Once you click on sign, it will give you 2 options. You can either capture the preparer signature or send a remote invoice or a remote signature. So those are your 2 options. Capture signature is for in-office, remote is if they're not available and you want to go ahead and send that to their text or email. Touching on the verify feature, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. Here, you're just going to go ahead and click view and fix, and it's going to take you to the box that it needs your attention. You see here, it's saying that I don't have a bank app. Obviously, I don't because I'm a test office. I don't have bank applications. So you see here, it is asking us, let's see, it wants to confirm that we are removing the bank application. And now it's just going directly to direct deposit. So when I go back to verify return, now it's showing us no errors or no reject errors, but 44 warnings. We understand that you guys are the tax professionals, so we do want you guys going through, looking at the warnings. If you think that it's something that you guys can bypass, you guys can use your better judgment on that. If it's not showing a fatal error, that means it can be sent to the IRS. A fatal error is something that will get you automatically rejected. That's why we don't even let you guys do that. But the warnings are things that we want you guys to put a second set of eyes on, take a look at. If you want to bypass it, you can. It could potentially get rejected, potentially could not. So just make sure you go ahead. Typically, we have people clear out all the warnings because that's kind of best practice. But like we said, we understand that sometimes you guys know a little bit more than the software, right? And you guys are able to bypass those. I will touch back on the signatures actually since I cleared those issues, and now it's going to let me sign. So you see here, that's what I was mentioning. You have the option of capture signature or the remote signature. I can either send it via text or I can send it via email. Last things last, the print portion here. If you need to print your bank documents, all this info is here, and you can also preview a return. We always recommend if you want to send a copy, send the preview option. My Adobe's a little funky, so it's not popping up right now, but it'll just say like preview, do not e-file or something like that, so that your clients can't go in and e-file that information. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out this return, and then we're going to open up to questions. I will touch on here if you need to lock or unlock a return, it's here at the top. And if you need to delete or delete a return, you'd go ahead and click here. You guys can click save and close once you're done with your return. All right, Justin, I know we covered a lot of information. Let's go ahead and open up for some questions, take a look around, see what everybody wants to review.
Yep, thank you very much, Bella. That was a very wonderful, detailed presentation on the CrossLink Online. So just another quick reminder, if any of you have any questions that came up during the presentation on your GoToWebinar control panel, which again is usually found in the right upper hand corner of your screen, there's a questions tab. Go ahead and expand that questions tab, and you can enter your questions in there. We're going to do our best to answer them. I'm not sure we're going to have a lot because of how detailed your presentation was, Bella. But yeah, so while everyone is entering their questions in right now, just another quick reminder, if you're not already, be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on all the major social media networks. Just search up CrossLink Tax. You should be able to find us. And again, if nothing else, head on over to our YouTube channel. And that's just youtube.com/CrossLinkTax. and subscribe to our channel. If you do, you should get notified whenever we post any new video content. There's a lot of great stuff there already, but one of the most important things is that that's where we'll be posting the recording of today's presentation, so you guys can go back and review it, take another look, uh, you know, review any of the sections from today's presentation that you might need. Also, while you're there, check out our podcast, which is the Taxverse Podcast Experience. You can find it there on our YouTube channel. You can listen and watch there, or listen to it wherever you may listen to your podcasts, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Again, great series that we have. Try to post a new episode about once a week, discussing all of the latest news and topics within the tax industry and for tax professionals. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a couple of these questions. So the first one we have, in regards to TaxPass, so they generate a link and send that to their taxpayer clients, who can then use TaxPass to send source documents directly to the software. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's two different ways that you can collect documents from your customers. I would say the easiest way is giving them access to this TaxPass URL so that they can upload documents there and it'll automatically drop into the document archive. And that's why I recommend that. It just makes it a lot easier for you as the tax preparers so you don't have to download anything, especially if you're meeting with them prior to reviewing their information and their return. So I always recommend that TaxPass URL because it will give them an area to upload those documents. It'll literally just said upload documents. So that's why I say go in there, take a look around. The second way you can do it, which is not the TaxPass way, you already have to have the return created. So if you haven't been working with them yet, this is why I say TaxPass is easier, because there doesn't need to be a return created for them to upload information if they're using TaxPass. But if you're already working in their return, you can send them that email, which we covered, which is the request documents. Yep. So those are the two way to upload documents that the client does that does not require you as a tax professional to upload.
Perfect. Yep, that takes care of a couple questions there. So thank you very much for reviewing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looks like really the only other question we have is there a webinar for business returns I'm assuming in CrossLink Online, what we're looking at today? And of course, the answer to that is yes. You should be able to
Yes.
find that on our YouTube channel. I think
Mm-hmm.
that one is uploaded now. So like I said, head on over to the YouTube channel. So that's just youtube.com/crosslinktax. And then on there, you should find our latest webinars from the current series that we've done. And one of them that we did was a business return in CrossLink Online.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah.
I see another question that popped in. There was, I think, a clarifying question for TaxPass regarding how clients access it and whether or not you guys can send emails through the software. There is no way for us, or at least currently built out for us to send an email to your clients asking them to enroll in TaxPass. It's really up to you how you choose to use this. You can text us to your client, you can email this to them. Like I said, you can have a QR code in your office. But really all you need to do is share this right here, and then it's going to prompt them to register. Okay. This is a client facing application, TaxPass. So it's for your client. And then Justin, it looks like the last question might be,
That's a good one.
yeah, for sure. Is whether or not you can see your online returns on on your desktop and vice versa. No, that is not how our softwares work. They don't speak to each other because they're two different platforms, an online server and then a server for desktop, so they're different. However, if you are making the change from desktop to online, which we understand obviously a lot of our customers are, the future is online and on the web. So if you are moving from desktop to online, we can transfer those returns up. We can teach you how to do it. It's actually very easy. But no, there's no way for both of those systems to communicate with each other. Yep.
Would the management dashboard be able to show.
Online and desktop never talk to each other. Desktop can talk to each other via management dashboard, but yeah. So that's a
Gotcha.
great question, though. That is a question that we do get.
Yep.
But like I said, if you guys are looking to move to online from desktop, it's very easy to do so. And we can walk you guys through that process. Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
All
So let me go ahead and pop up this PowerPoint slide real quick to wrap up with you guys. So today we covered the work in progress and its different options and selections. We covered how to prepare a basic tax return, the tools to prepare a tax return, which includes your office setup, and then we covered a verification and transmitting of a tax return. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And please connect with us on social media.